All right. Thanks for joining. And I think we have very limited time. My first question directly is to Pinky ma'am. Ma'am, can you, I don't want a technical definition of emotional intelligence. We all know that we actually cannot, define only in terms of words. But then, what is emotional intelligence according to you?
Audible? Is this working? About emotional intelligence, it's about being intelligent about emotions. Because we all can get emotional. But because I am from the time where we have not been taught about any education about how to regulate the emotions. Because for me, it's like recognizing the emotions, understanding where the emotions come from, labeling it accurately, expressing it constructively, and regulating it very, very appropriately. And it sounds very simple, but actually it isn't. Because most of the schools I find is not channelizing the navigation of the emotion intelligence is not being done. And what is being shown as an emotion is a negative thing. But I don't think it's an enemy or it's something about to be afraid of. And every time when we talk about emotion, it's about, okay, he's an emotional person. Let's not share this piece of news with him or her. Let's put this under the rug. Let's just avoid it. But are we navigating it properly? Because if I talk about certain emotions like empathy, sometimes these emotions like empathy, you need to have that temperament for it that if you're too empathetic and you might be making the other people feel small to protect him. Or maybe I'm talking about a feeling like shame. Maybe I like your blazer and I want to steal that. But what am I doing? I'm having that shame. And that's creating the boundary from me. So that emotion has to be navigated, regularized, that regulation has to be done. So that's
Check.
the mic, yeah. Okay. The mic. You hold it in a particular position, I guess.
Yeah, I think.
Is it okay? Oh, is it that it's enough now? So that's how I just feel that the schools have to give a lot of education on emotional intelligence
But
about
why
it.
is it considered as a crucial factor, as while it is bridging between the skills and the competencies in the.
Because it is actually a skill, but the skill is not being channelized properly. So I feel that because the mind, we are talking about the mental stress, mental health, right from the low, a very elementary level, you have to be being taught that emotion is a good feeling. It's not a negative feeling. It's something which is very positive. That's how it is. We need to talk about it.
Right. I'll again come back to you, Pinky
Yeah,
ma'am.
sure.
Thank you for the answer. Sharda ma'am, if I can request you to please throw some light. In what ways can EI, the sister concern of EI, enhance the effectiveness of technical or hard skills in professional settings? And if you can share some examples from your basket, that'll be a very handful for all of us.
Thank you so much. So from my basket, I'm removing one story and throwing it everywhere. It seems one guru called three of his students and told them that you completed your your high school education. If you want to go for higher education, you should go to my other Gurukul on the other side of this fort. And I'm giving you 2 bags and a bucket full of different kinds of awards, rewards, appreciations, okay? All the good things you earned this many years. Also, this bucket is full of all those pitfalls, all those reprimands, all those negative feedbacks, and all those negative things also you earned this many years. You have to carry this and whenever you are reaching the other side of the fort to that Gurukul, you will be given admission there. So those 3 left from this. They reached. When they reached, the Guru asked all three of them, how did you reach? So the first one said, half the way I could walk, remaining half I was carried by somebody. Then the Guru said, what happened? He said, very simple. I kept all my good things. I have kept hung one good bag at the front, one at the back. I kept all the bad things behind, all the bad things front, good things behind. Every now and then I was looking at the bad things so that they say that I won't repeat. But it became so heavy, I could not cross. So somebody carried me. The second one said, I kept all the good things in the front, all the bad things at the back. I kept on looking at the good things, saying that it is very nice, but the back became so heavy, it became very difficult for me to reach. The third one looked happy. He said, no problem. I kept all the good and bad in the front, and the back bag, I have cut it in the bottom. So every time I am looking at for any kind of a negative feedback I picked up, I saw, I threw it behind. So half the way, my front bag became lighter only with the positivities, and all my negativities went down. So I could also help somebody. Whom did you help? The first one said, he carried me. So this is what I call it as an emotional intelligence. Knowing how to manage our emotions, which emotion we carry, which emotion we will shed it off, throw it through the bag with the hole. So how will it help technical? Normally always EQ is associated with the soft skills. Then how will it help a hard skill? I strongly feel that until we have the soft skills, we cannot attain the hard skills. And first we need to attain this soft skill. For that we need EQ. Then the technical skills will come because we will develop resilience, acceptance. The day we have resilience, acceptance, whatever is the heavy weight, we will be ready to do. Whatever is the pain, we will be ready to do. Whatever is the learning, we'll be ready to do. I took more than the time given to me. So the skill which we are supposed to develop as a soft skill through EQ will help us to get the technical. I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Absolutely. That reminds me of a story. The same three guys were actually traveling across the seashore, and then following their guru. So the guru apparently happened to see a lady falling very not keeping well, and she's crunched, and maybe she's not even had her lunch or maybe food for many days, and so this guru immediately offers help, picks this lady and helps reach a particular place, gets her food and so on, and then keeps moving ahead. Now the story, these three are very discomfort, especially the first one, and he keeps arguing, how could guru even touch a lady? How did he touch and how did he hold this? And they've been walking, they've walked for roughly about 4 or 5 kilometers from there across the seashore, and then finally they just about to reach Mandir, and then the second one stops and asked, "Are Baba, गुरुजी ने उस लेडी को उधर ही छोड़ दिया, and now you are still carrying this all the way. He is not carrying. Look who is carrying." So something very important for all of us as to what we actually carry, as what ma'am said. It's the same old wine in a new bottle. Right? Thank you for that answer, ma'am. So I would want to ask Anchal, yes. So ma'am, my question to you, what are the key EI competencies that schools should focus on developing in their workforce to align skills with the evolving needs of the industry or maybe K-12 sector?
So as we know, today we're living in a fast-paced, ever-evolving world. So I believe that EI is the cornerstone for academic success for students and professional success for our workforce. So the key competencies in a school scenario that are important for the workforce are first is self-awareness and self-regulation. It's very important that we realize how to manage identify emotions, manage our emotions, and how we express it out, and we can balance that within us. That is how we as role models can show to students how to manage their emotions. Second, here I would like to give an example. Like say a teacher in class is seeing that the children are not understanding a concept and they're distracted. Instead of reacting and shouting at them, she needs to reflect and change her strategy in order to teach that same concept in different ways. The next competency that's important is empathy, what I think my co-fellows just spoke about. Empathy is how I can understand other people's emotions and manage it. I can cater to their emotional needs. So here, I can give an example of a principal. See that one teacher who was always on time in submitting her work recently has started, she's getting delayed or has coming late to school, is a little depressed. So here, a principal needs to show that empathy, counsel that teacher, understand where the problem is. In this way, we are going to create psychological safety in the school for our children and for the workforce. So that is very important. The next competency I can think about is, as she also spoke about, resilience. Very important. Today, in school scenario, we are always caught up with a lot of work. And as educators or maybe any other staff, we have so many events coming up.
I want to interrupt. Have we not taught too much of resilience also to the teachers?
We have, but I think it's very, very important. We've all seen the lockdown and the COVID days. And I think as educators, we all rose up to that occasion. And even though we were not equipped with technology, I think we were resilient enough to persist, and we ensure that all students, all around, all across the world, did not go without education. So I think resilience is very, very important.
Right.
And one more competency which I can think of is interpersonal skills, which means communication, collaboration. In a school scenario, we all need to work together as a team. So this is a very important competency that we need to ensure that it is fostered in our schools. So I think...
so that, keeps me, directly to Mr. Neeraj. How we as leaders can take this to school, EI, how can we leverage EI in schools?
See, two things. I'll give my experience from corporate world, which I hope would also apply to schools, because leaders eventually are the same, whether it's a corporate world or the school. What I believe is it's like riding a chariot, where leader is a rider and horses are your team. Unless your team is well fed, is in sync with what rider wants to achieve, where he wants to go, you are taking care of your horses in terms of, you know their pain, you know how to pet them, keeping them in good emotional health. Basically, eventually, this leader has to feel what the employee is feeling. Unless he goes to that level, for him to get the backing of team is very difficult. He may draw out of fear, he may get the support out of fear, but getting in army on a one call, people just do whatever you want to do. That kind of situation can only be done if you win their heart. So this comes from emotions, right? You have to engage with your employees in a more friendly manner, I would say. Sometimes, yes, as a corporate world, you have to get your work done also, because somebody may not be doing right things or in a manner which you want them to do. So there are ways how to do things on that. Most of the time people go shortcut firings. I believe firing is not the only solution. You need to work, which means if he is failing somewhere, you are also failed. You are not taught them well, or you are not taking care of them well, or somewhere he is failing. So I would say, as a leader, emotion is the important thing. You should be grounded to the realities instead of just sitting in a corner office and passing dictates. That's.
I think Pinky ma'am wants to add.
I just want to add here what sir was saying right now about the leadership, that he has to be very understanding. In fact, I'm reading a book on 10 amazing leaders of South India, and it's written by Vishal Gupta. And the 10 leaders who have made a mark is because of this interpersonal skills. And because of understanding, when you put yourself in the other shoe, you understand what is he going through. It's very easy to disrespect and demean. And on the same lines, I just want to add here that it's like not about understanding. Like I'm having a discussion with my teachers or with my peer members, and I say, oh, you know, my problem is this much. And the other says, no, my problem is this. There is not a tussle between that whose problem is more. You need to understand that there is a problem. We need to find a solution rather than keeping an accumulation of the problems and sounding to be too big in front of the others. So you don't make the other people feel small about it. That's all about emotional intelligence.
Thank you, ma'am. When we attend this morning yoga sessions, we are taught, don't get angry. Step 1, take a deep breath, count backward, ground reality when somebody is not kept my table clean, and or if my table, once it is kept clean and somebody else has changed, then you say, oh, I can't take a deep breath. I'll have to use my deep voice. So, ma'am, have you come across such conflict, stress, if not, within you? I'm sure staff room would have had such great dramas. क्योंकि सास भी कभी बहू थी. So, I mean, how do you think we, during conflict stress, would, if you can quote a couple of examples as to how we can be emotionally intelligent to handle conflict or the stress. Shyama ma'am.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll just quote 2 scenarios and then we'll see what is the solution for that. The science teacher, gives a project for the internal assessment. Everybody gets the project with chart paper, some with the working models. It is all kept in the class. They go down for a short break. When they come back, the best child's project has been destroyed. So obviously, in olden days, we would never be able to find out who has done it. But nowadays, thanks to CCTV. So we found out, and the child is someone who is an equally good child, who has spoiled the project of another child. This is one. Second, 10 days back, IIT Kharagpur, 3rd year student with 8.5 CGP committed suicide. The parents stay 2 hours away from the campus. So every Saturday, Sunday, they make it a point to bring food for the child. So what these 2 scenarios, they actually shake us. What would be the reason that the child, that class 8 student, spoils the project of his friend? What would be the reason the IIT, how much of effort he has made to get there? Through 4 years of struggle for preparation and then choosing the stream, and then he gives it up. So what I feel is, as a principal, I see around me, times have changed. During our time, I see a lot of youngsters here. During our time, it did not make a difference whether the child is good in academics or not good in academics. The child is pretty or not pretty. We were friends with everyone. There was no discrimination in our minds. But have you all noticed in your schools how they tend to bond with children who they feel that they are comfortable with, either economically or academically or by way of looks or by way of social media presence? That is how they are divided. So what happens is there is a lot of conflict in the child's mind, and therefore the necessity for emotional intelligence training. We have to make the children aware that you can't be good at everything. It's the other way around. We used to tell them, okay, everybody is very good, everybody is very good. That stage has gone. We have to make them realize what their limitations are. And that is what they are not able to take it. They are not able to accept the fact that my Instagram posts do not get as many likes as my friends. They are not able to accept it. They are not able to accept the fact that I am slightly bulky in nature than that girl who is so pretty. So it is very important that we ourselves accept the limitations. We tell the teachers it's okay not to be okay. Because in a class, one teacher is teaching and there are 30 children. Is everybody getting the same marks? No. They cannot. Everybody can't get 90%. So at some point, we need to talk to that 40 percentile child. It's okay. Let's work on it so that you become 50. And let's find out what you are good at. And let's work on it. Acceptance is very important. Self-awareness and acceptance. That, I feel, is the basis of any emotional intelligence training. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I caught very important thing, especially about suicide, and I think we should be talking about that in a while. But before that, Sumita ma'am, you've been very, I think very wise and waiting for, just
Maybe
quickly
the white
hop
sari
in. So do you think EI is something that can be developed over time or a matter of inheritance?
So EI is not really something which is an inherent trait. But yes, it can be developed by patience and experience. And some people may be born with a little higher level of emotional intelligence, naturally gifted. But research has shown that over a period of time, with intentional effort and with training and counseling, one can develop a little higher level of emotional intelligence. It's the surroundings, ambience, training which makes it possible. And there are various methods to do that. There are various strategies, if I can just delve into that. So, So, of course, there is the self-awareness. The most important is self-awareness. When you yourself think about your strengths and weaknesses and, you take it forward, you develop your coping mechanisms, then you have your social responsibilities, how you deal with others, your kindness, helpfulness, and, all of that, empathy, since we are in a school setup, inclusion is a very important thing. So, like in our academy, Redbridge International, it's an inclusive school. So that the tiny tots learn from the, the disabilities of the other, how to be empathetic. That is there. Then relationships, how to deal with conflicts, how to, do teamwork. These are all things which are developed and taught over a period of time. And decision making, self-reflection, how you would see that, okay, where I went wrong, you think back, and all of that. And most important is, I think, role model. The children see their teachers, their parents, and maximum you would learn from role models, definitely.
Right. All right.
And I'd just like to add here, in Redbridge, we have developed some lesson plans for emotional intelligence. It's part of our curricula. So we have this, we do a pre-assessment. Then we have a lesson plan for the year. So every class, or junior classes, will give them things like kindness, humility, all that, empathy. For higher classes, we'll give sustainability, focus, self-awareness, age appropriate. And then every week, we have one class. And that class, we divide it into 3 parts. One is the introduction, which we have a video. It's all pre-planned. It's through a vendor we do it. So there's a video we play, introduce them to the topic. The second 10-15 minutes, we have storytelling. We develop that topic. And then last is the learnings, some activity-based learning so that the children internalize it. And then they go back home and we tell them to journal this so that, they understand and what they have learned. So this is a continuous process in our school. And it is reaping good results because what happened, before the year, we had a pre-assessment for the whole school, anonymous pre-assessment on various factors. And at the end of the year, we had another post-assessment. And we find, yes, so many things, we find there's a visible improvement in the children because of this exercise. So we at Redbridge feel very happy about this.
Thank you, Sumita ma'am. Aditi ma'am, that leads me to a newer direction. So, once we take the lesson plans, the teachers are the owners of the lesson plans, and it's on them to take it to the classroom. Now, do you think EI contributes to the organizational performance? I'm sure your answer is yes. And if yes, how do you think we all can assess it without spending any money?
Yes, the challenging thing is assessment part is always important because without assessing, how would you know whether it's working or not working, your strategies? So I think like it is like it has multiple levels. So it is, sorry, I just have to, it is basically baking a cake. So when I am comparing it with baking a cake, I mean that you have to measure first individual ingredients. Here, individual teachers, right? Educators. So when I am talking about individual educators, we have to think about their empathy. We have to think about their self-management skills, their how they can self-control their emotions, right? So those, what I feel we can measure by, there are two aspects of it. One is developing it and then assessing it is working. So developing it, we have to take stage by stage. First of all, I think all leaders have to be the role model because if you are as a principal a closed door person, you cannot expect your teachers to open their heart and soul for the teachers and the students and the parents and everybody. So you have to be a role model. So in our school, I have a session that called solo SSS with HOS, like solo sync session with head of school. So they just come and they can share that during that time anything and everything. If they feel like, oh my God, I have a lot of work, they can cry on my shoulder and I say, okay, it's fine, we'll get through it. So this is theirs because when I talk to them, then I feel like, oh my God, I treat myself like I am also a teacher. That is empathy, right? I think that I am in their shoes. So role modeling is a part, professional development is a part, and then after developing, how do you assess? You assess by observing the class. Student-teacher relationship is a big indicator. So if the kids are happy in a class and they want to come back every day to school, then you know that things are going right in the class. And also teachers' time management, like teacher is coming on time to do the self-management aspect of it. So after your individual ingredients are ready, then it is coming the mixing part of the cake, right? The team project. So I think here in the team aspect of it, collaboration, as ma'am said, communication, collaboration, and conflict management. Now, I'm laughing because the conflicts is something that we are facing every day. And we should not avoid conflict, right? Because it brings other aspects of it. So I think that what could be the indicators of measuring the team effectiveness is, I think, like we can do any event. Suppose your annual day is happening, then you can set a feedback. It could be somebody's survey, it could be teacher's self-reflection, right? Whether the event went right, wrong, what went bad, what went good. So those can be the measurements of a team effort. Then comes the baking part and the final product, the cake, right? So that is the overall picture. I think the indicators are the school is happy, teachers are not leaving school because nowadays options are many, and as school leaders, many of us, this is a challenge that teachers just go away. Right? So teachers are happy, teachers are not leaving the school, parents are happy, and your business is growing. So that is most important. So those could be the indicators, and then that could be I think those are the measurement sticks.
I'm pressed by time, and
Sure.
I want to cover this very important question. to Sharda ma'am, I think you're the youngest amongst us, and so
Yeah, I'm the baby, yeah.
so
Yeah.
and because of which, I take this leverage to ask you additional question. It's a buy one get one for you.
Yes.
Looking at EI for teachers, EI for children, is it the same or is it different? And if it is different, then how can we make our teachers practice this, and how can we make our teachers use it in the classroom? And mind you, even they are doubly pressed by time. Syllabus
Like us.
completion is even challenging, whether I as a school head, I want it or not, but my teachers have to complete considering the parents.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, thank you. This reminded me of one incident which happened when I was a baby. None of you were born. I'm talking about 1972.
so I called you
Yeah,
very young.
yes. I'm 62, 63 running. So I'm talking about 72, 73. We were all some 11, 12 years. Some 20 of us attended one wedding, my neighbor's daughter's wedding. We all sat down. I'm from Andhra, Vishakhapatnam, where gongura chutney is one of the delicacies. So the wedding, they have served delicacy, that gongura chutney. We were all ready to mix gongura chutney in our rice, ready to eat. One shout came from the owner, that the lady of the house. Who told you to serve gongura chutney to kids? They will waste, take it out. We all held to our gongura chutney. Whatever they can take back, they went back. Why am I saying is that, now, is it that the gongura chutney should be different for children and different for elders? No, gongura chutney is gongura chutney. No, like that, emotional intelligence is same for children and for the teachers, because we are all human beings. And we human beings, we have to live with multiple tastes. The taste will have sweetness and bitterness. Just now I was sharing it with Ritu ma'am, that my husband, when I had just undergone some small process of called angio, and the doctor told me and my husband that you both have to really eat only al ghasbos, lose your weight. Okay. So now my husband next day has sent me one picture, morning WhatsApp. He lives in the same room with me. What is that he has sent? We are married for 40 years, so he knows I won't leave him. So he has sent me the photo of one hippo, saying if eating grass and walking makes you reduce weight, I would have looked like a kangaroo. Now, if at all I have to commit suicide, I would have jumped from there. But I'm brought up like that. When I was a 10-year-old baby, I was called a Horlicks baby. When I was in college, my sister was very slim and tim and petite, and I'm like this. So they used to tell me, hey, Sharda, feed your sister also. Then after marriage, they told me that you feed your husband. Okay. Now later they told feed your son. Now they're telling me feed your grandson. It's happening. But why did that I didn't commit suicide is that I had that emotional quotient, resilience. I accepted myself as I am. Unfortunately, children today are not taught that. If we teach them, we get that. Teachers do not have this. If I tell a teacher, darling, take one extra help, resignation is there on my table. No resilience.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. If I can quickly ask, in one word, how would you want to conclude? We'll start right from Mr. Neeraj. One word is not more than 5 seconds.
What I would say to teachers is, don't make superhumans, make humans.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much.
I would say children
Pinky.
have to be taught that they need to take a pause between emotion and action.
Emotion and action, wonderful.
I would say that you give Max Law the importance before Bloom's. So social emotional learning is the first priority more than learning.
Reflection, not reaction.
Super.
I would say all children deserve to be happy. So see to it that however they are ultimately happy.
Okay, happy everywhere.
I would say for all of us, in order to survive and thrive, let's foster emotional intelligence everywhere.
Perfect.
Okay, I would say we should give space to all the children to express themselves openly without any reservations.
All
And
right.
all of us should be role models for the children. That's very important.
Right, and I think we are still left with 20 seconds, and we need that for all of us to stand and pose for a photo before we. I know, I know.
Right. So I would like to call upon Mr. Neeraj Sharma, Chief Business Officer, B2B Auxil Finserv, to honor moderator Mr. Sandeep Pai S, Principal Surana Vidyalaya. Huge round of applause. I think you all are back with a lot of energy, right? Very good. Suite 16, Mrs. Sharada Chandrasekharan, Academic Director, Whitefield Global School. Ms. Aditi Bhattacharya, Head of School, Radcliffe Group of Schools. A huge round of applause. Next up, we have Ms. Shaima Shri Chatterjee, Principal, BGS International School. Ms. Pinky Singh, Principal, Royal Concord International School. Ms. Sumitra Datta, Chief Operating Officer, Red Bridge International Academy, Bengaluru. Ms. Anchal Vasadani, Senior Vice President, Curriculum Development, Vibgyor Group of Schools. Yeah, now it's time to honor our moderator, Mr. Sandeep Pai S, the Principal of Surana Vidyalaya. Huge round of applause.